So thank you and good afternoon. Let me first thank Luis for the kind, maybe too kind presentation, and the organizer committee and the scientific committee for inviting me today. Well, as you see from the title, I'm going to talk a little bit about nutraceutical compounds. But let me start first with one famous sentence every one of us already heard. So dating back to 2,500 years probably, Hippocrates is known to say, let be food be your medicine and medicine be your food. We all heard this, and to be honest, it had started to bore us a little bit, I think. So I would prefer to start with a different citation, a famous proverb. This is another one we probably have heard many times. Apparently it comes from the 19th century, and an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So I think this is a more funny way to start thinking about functional food first, and then to talk about nutraceutical compounds. Functional foods are foodstuff that provide some health benefits beyond their basic nutrition. And most important is that to be claimed as a functional food, there must be some studies, or that have been must be clearly demonstrated that these foods can really provide a certain type of benefits in terms of prevention of common diseases. So this is somehow a summary of the definition by the FAO. So keep in mind the three words beyond basic nutrition, because they will come back soon. So maintaining and keeping the example of the apple, it is a clear example of functional food. It is clearly a food. It contains some, of course, nutrients, which is clearly well known, from water to sugar to fiber, and a lot of vitamins, of course, minerals, and many other. But it's also known to contain, for example, different types of polyphenols, flavonoids, quercetin, for example, and many other. Well, these compounds are those that makes the apple functional. And if we imagine to separate these compounds from the apple, they can be also considered nutraceutical compounds. Putting the example of the apple on a side, we can remember that these terms are pretty young. They date back 45 years, more or less. So the idea of functional food comes from Japan, actually, when at the beginning of the 80s, they used the term to describe food that provide health benefits, as we said, beyond basic nutrition. The concept of nutraceutical compounds is a little bit younger, but not so much, when Stephen De Felice in the United States coined for the first time the term, combining, of course, the two terms, nutrition and pharmaceutical, to point out, to define part of foods, so substances in a food, that provide medical or health benefit, including the prevention and sometimes even treatment of the disease. Later on, the definition has been little probably modified. Today we consider nutraceutical a lot of different substances originating from fruits, of course, but sometimes also, of course, providing in doses that are even much higher than those we find in food. So extracted from food and presented as supplements. Examples, here we have a short list of examples. We can consider molecules like carotenoids, like lycopene, or very well known, and we already heard about some of them, curcumin, resveratrol, catechins, and many other. You see that most of them are coming from the plant-based food, but there are some examples also coming from animal products, small peptides, for example, that have been studied mainly for their activity on reducing blood pressure, for example. I think you can agree saying that all these molecules are not nutrients. So they all belong to the group. They represent a nutraceutical and they are not nutrients. More recently, also some other molecules that are nutrients, for example, polyunsaturated fatty acid, omega-3, like APA or DHA, but also vitamin D, in some cases also vitamin C, have been included by some authors in this list. My opinion, my explanation of this is that the more we accumulate evidences on the effect of these substances that goes beyond the simple, let's say simple nutraceutical value, to include these substances into the list. There's also something we have that is missing here, like caffeine, for example. Caffeine is a substance, is present. It comes from food stuff. Where it has effects also in terms of sometimes also in terms of prevention, and it can be clearly included into the list of nutraceuticals. So we can see that some nutraceutical can also have an effect on human performance or sport performance, like exactly like caffeine, or as we heard yesterday, vitamin D. So nutraceutical can behave in two ways. For example, they on one side they promote our health, and they are also involved in some disease prevention. This is important nowadays because diet is I mean in the way we eat has an important effect on our health. The lifespan of the human population, especially in Europe, is increasing, but only life expectancy is increasing. The healthy life expectancy is staying the same. It means that we are going to live about 20% for men, 24% for women of our entire life, with a certain type of disease, mainly chronic disease, but a certain type of disease. It's not possible to imagine to treat in the long term, from a medical point of view, such a huge part of our life. I mean, it's not possible. We should try to treat our health with drugs and medicine. So nutrition can be really the way that help us reducing the gap between life expectancy and healthy life expectancy. Okay, there are a lot of challenges related to nutraceutical compounds. The first one clearly is related to bioavailability of these substances. Bioavailability, you know, is we can summarize it as the amount of a substance that is orally administered, that reach its site of action into the body. And it is related to at least three other concepts. The bioaccessibility, so For example, these substances are usually, they have a low solubility, so they cannot be absorbed too much. If we ingest them as a food instead of as a supplement, for example, the food matrix can limit significantly the absorption, and these aspects are related to the bioaccessibility of the substance. There are also issues related to the absorption. For example, these substances have a limited permeability through the epithelial cell at the gastrointestinal level. And also there's another issue related to the transformation of these substances. For example, molecular transformations occurring into the gut that can limit the amount of nutraceutical compounds that are absorbed and that reach the site of action. So this is the first issue related to nutraceuticals. The other issues are related mainly to the definition of their mechanism of action. For a long time, we have considered that the positive effect of these substances was related essentially to their antioxidant activity, as we heard this morning. It is true. Probably when we talk about polyphenols, for example, in vivo, the antioxidant effects is less important than other aspects. We heard about the fact that they can modulate signal transduction pathways or activate other transcription factors, for example. So the reason why they probably don't behave too much as an antioxidant is related to the fact that the amount of antioxidant into the cell is probably higher than the amount of these substances that can be absorbed, and it makes difficult to imagine only a direct antioxidant effect. As we said, these nutraceuticals can behave like modulators of different signal transduction pathways and even gene expression. For example, flavonoids have been demonstrated to modulate pathways related to different molecules like ERK, JNK, and P38, leading to a modulation of pathways that lead the survival or death of our cells. Other examples of potential studied and known mechanism of action are related to the possibility to inactivate or reduce the inflammatory response, for example, at the NFKB level. The picture here represents a common activation pathway of NFKB, and we can see that at different level, nutraceutical can modulate the pathway by reducing its activity. We can say, for example, reducing the activation of NFKB, reducing its translocation to the nucleus, or inhibiting its binding to its binding sites at the DNA level, with a final effect to reducing the inflammation. Examples in this case are represented by curcumin, resveratrol, genistein, for example. They all have been demonstrated to be active at this level. A further example of mechanism of action is related to the pathway of activation of a signal transduction factor that is called NRF2, which is normally entrapped at the cytoplasm level and is activated by different stressors, like moderate oxidative stress, for example, and also some nutraceutical compounds. Once activated and translocated to the nucleus, it binds specific binding sites and leads to the expression of important enzymes or molecules related to the ability of our cells to counteract a stress, like antioxidant enzymes, glutathione, antioxidant enzymes like SOD, catalase, NADPH, quinone oxydoreductase, and many others. Nutraceuticals that behave in this way are summarized here. Of course, there are a lot of more examples, but here we have again curcumin and, for example, another one that is interesting in sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts. Moving to the relationship between exercise and these substances, we can go back to the end of my PhD studies when we published a study on the effect of sulforaphane, not orally ingested, but intraperitonially injected, in rats. And we observed that in this type of treatment could reduce oxidative stress, muscle damage after exhaustive running on a treadmill in rat. And after some years, other studies involving humans have been published with some similar, we can say, result. For example, here in a study where 10 men were treated for 4 weeks with sulforaphane at 30 milligrams per day, they observed a reduction in inflammation biomarkers, a reduction in muscle damage biomarkers too. Similar results were observed again in another study treating for, in this case, 2 weeks before an exercise test, and in this case they observed an increased activation of the activity of antioxidant and detoxifying enzymes, a reduction of muscle damage biomarkers like MDA, or even the activation of creatine kinase at the plasma level, and biomarkers like this. The problem of this group of studies is that they are not really involving elite athletes. They are involving young adults in this case, or in young practitioners in the previous one. So we still don't really have data on elite athletes, and even worse, in this case, we don't have data related to female athletes. And the last one is a review that summarized what have been demonstrated in the previous studies, suggesting that sulforaphane can activate these pathways, reducing inflammation on one side and activating NRF2 pathway on the other. Another example of nutraceutical that have been studied and proposed is represented by quercetin. Quercetin has been proposed for its indirect antioxidant effect, of course, for its post-exercise anti-inflammatory action, the reduction of muscle damage, and improvement of endothelial function, increase in anaerobic capacity, or immunomodulatory effect. Most of these potential effects are to now simply moderate or low. There's one that is promising, that is the reduction of muscle damage, and we see something later. For example, in this systematic review, the authors selected 11 studies suggesting that quercetin supplementation could enhance endurance, exercise capacity, but they state that the effect size was between trivial and small. So still we have an effect not so intense. In another meta-analysis, here the author selected 13 studies providing 1 gram per day of quercetin, and they found that there's some effect in the reduction of muscle soreness, creatine kinase level at the plasma level after exercise. So we have some more evidence that the effect on muscle soreness and pain after exercise can be a target of this nutraceutical compound. Trying to propose some data related to female athletes. The only study I found on quercetin and female athletes is a study published about 7 years ago in the Asian Journal of Sport Medicine, where the author evaluated 20 adolescent swimmers supplemented with 1 gram per day of quercetin for 14 days, and in this case they suggest that the effect of the nutraceutical compounds was related to a reduction of inflammation biomarkers level. After the discussion of yesterday, I better check, and also in this case the study did not take into any account the phase of the menstrual cycle of these subjects, so another point that should be addressed. Other compounds are, or other example, for example, we have systematic reviews describing the effect of different substances. For example, an interesting one is this. Of course, they support and sustain the effect of caffeine supplementation, but as we heard this morning, tart cherry juice seems able to reduce again exercise induced muscle damage. So another example. Beetroot, we can consider beetroot a functional food, of course, because of its content in nitrate. And in this case, we have a study investigating 18 female endurance amateur, not elite athletes, supplemented with beetroot juice, and they observe a certain increase in maximal oxygen consumption. To conclude with an interesting example, I think I want to mention the soy isoflavones. They are well known, like molecules like diethane or genistein, and they have been studied for their potential possible effect in the reduction of premenstrual symptoms. Prevalence of premenstrual symptoms is very high, and there's an important percentage of women, like 5%, where these symptoms are so severe to interfere, of course, with personal, social relationship, work, and of course with physical performance. So the possibility to reduce this type of symptoms can have an important effect also in related to the sport performance. In this case, the molecule that is more interesting is the equal. Equal is a byproduct of diethane, Dydrin is the nutraceutical present in soy, one of the nutraceutical present in soybeans. It is converted into a quol at the gut level according to the different profile of the microbiota. So again, we have subjects that are equal producers and subjects that are not. Still is not really clear what type of bacteria species are responsible for this transformation, but in vitro studies have demonstrated that this conversion occur only in anaerobic condition. So in this case, the study suggests that equal producers have a lower risk of suffering premenstrual symptoms, and this can be transferred also to the to reduce. They associate this with a reduced risk of an increase of poor athletic performance during this period. To conclude, I think that, of course, we know that polyphenols are listed in the IOC consensus document. As we saw this morning, they are in the B group. So we still need some evidence to support their use. Some other nutraceuticals, as we heard about caffeine, for example, they are clearly in the group A. But a personal consideration is that among elite athletes, performance has reached such a high level that the gap between competitors has become minimal. So even, of course, we need some more evidence, but even the nutraceutical supplementation can play a role. So I think that there are still chance for nutraceutical, for some nutraceutical, to shift in the future from, let's say, group B to group A. And so we need more investigation. Of course, we need much more investigation on female athletes. As Alvaro, during his introduction yesterday, pointed out, among the study on those substances that are listed in group A, only minimal part of them are related to female athletes. So moving to group B and group C, probably this percentage is even lower. So we really know this type of study. So thanks to Nuret Namoud to opening and promoting studies in this field, and of course to all of you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for